political representation, beautiful data analysis, nice feature articles to back some of these. This is journalism at its best, I must say, and kudos to the editors of the Guardian newspaper for always coming up with this kind of title. Again, it just tells you the story. It tells you the story of Nigerians, and basically what they've done is to do this analysis from May, when this administration came into power, and what is now happening in December. The prices are quite shocking. For some of us who don't really go to the market, who don't interface with sellers of some of these commodities. But of course, I think a lot of women will agree to the data that is provided by the Guardian newspaper. Says things are tough, and that's why we are telling our politicians to read the room. In their actions, they should understand that these are not the best of times for Nigerians. They're suffering in the land, and it is not as a result of what the people have not done, but what they have refused to do for years. And so in understanding that, look at what the governor of the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, and the former governor of Akwa Ibom did with his 61st birthday. Look at the display of it was just completely reckless and insensitive. 61, you have told 61, and so what? In the face of excruciating poverty, he had to even celebrate it in the stadium. And at a stage, I was asking one of my friends, "What don't do no again?" And there are so much weaponized poverty to the point that people cannot even fight back, so they have to tag along. I'm sure more than half of people that were induced to come. And what would have been the inducement? Maybe a few thousand. Maybe some few 2,000-3,000 naira to come here and make
at least they know they'll go home with
and they know that they will get food for that day.
Yeah.
Because when you weaponize poverty to a particular level, that is what you see. It's unfortunate, but the Guardian newspaper in the front page again is telling the story of Nigerians at this time. I just hope that our leaders are reading these things.
Right. Well, first, before we move to the next story, please, it's not time to take phone calls yet. So I would ask that you refrain from calling right now as you are interrupting the conversation. I have to do this every single time. It's not time to take contributions yet. And you're calling again. All I'm doing is telling you the story. At least let me tell you the story before you call to contribute. All right. Please refrain from calling right now. I'll let you know when it's time to take submissions. Thank you for your patience. Now, that story you will find on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. All right. Moving forward now, let's talk a little politics. Fuhad, the Guardian is reporting what's going on in River State. River lawmaker defection. PDP Labour Party demand fresh poll as Fubara summons emergency EXCO meeting. That is that particular story. Hold on a second. Yes, we have the story here. Riders to this. Group blames judiciary, police for festering crisis. Rivers APC welcome pro-WK lawmakers. Expect more defectors. Call WK to order. Ijaw Congress tells Tinubu. Rivers EXCO approves 2024 budget estimate of 800 billion naira. Those are the riders to the story. Now, let's look a little bit at the body before we have Fuad talk to us about that. The month-long rift between the Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, yesterday took a new twist as 27 lawmakers loyal to Wike of the 32-member House of Assembly and led by Martins Amuelu dumped the People's Democratic Party and defected to the All Progressives Congress. The lawmakers cited division within the PDP as the primary reason for their defection to APC. They sat under tight security at the entrance of the assembly complex along Moscow Road in Port Harcourt around 8 a.m. when the decision was taken. Forward, as you know, there's been some sort of factionalization of the PDP in River State. Some standing behind former Governor Nyesom Wike, some standing behind Sims Fubara, the current governor of River State. Now, Forward, we have 27 of 32 lawmakers in River State defecting to the APC. I guess the question we're asking here, first of all, how will the law, or how does the law, what position does the law occupy when it comes to mass defection like this one? As you know, there's been calls to replace the 27 individuals who defected, or lawmakers, I beg your pardon, who defected to the APC, because the Constitution provides that if you run as a senator under a particular party and you defect, you have voluntarily, left your position. You're not interested in that position again as far as the law is concerned. So what is the position of the law, in this? I'd like you to talk about this. I would also like you to highlight the hypocrisy in all of this, because it's been a point of conversation. And are we likely to see new impeachment moves against Sims Fubara? Fuad.
Okay, now if I want to capture your questions properly, I'll put it on three layers.
Yeah.
The first layer is that you are asking me the legal interpretation of what happened in Rivers. Yes. So that's the first one. The second one is the political implication of what happened, and then the last one is the moral implication.
Yeah.
Is there any morality to this particular issue? So let's take the first one, which is the legal aspect of what happened yesterday. Now you have 27 lawmakers, state lawmakers, loyal to the former governor, who is now the Minister of FCT, Yᴏᴜᴛᴜᴜ, defecting from the PDP to the APC. And so what is the legal implication? Now, there's a precedent. The Supreme Court has ruled on lawmakers defecting, whether at the federal or state level. And what the law says simply is that, look, if you are going to defect substantially, that within your party it has been factionalized, and that indeed that that problem within your party has gotten to a point where no faction of the party can actually nominate a candidate for an election. So you must show that there's a serious division within your party, and that indeed your party has been factionalized to a point where that division has even made it difficult for any of the factions to be able to nominate a candidate for an election. Now let us go to Rivers State. What did the lawmakers give as the division within the PDP to now defect to the APC? They never even talked about any division in Rivers PDP. What they said, not even a division, say, or crisis in the PDP at the national level, or a crisis in the PDP at the state level. The only thing they said for them taking the decision to defect to the APC is that the secretaryship of the party at the national level is still undecided, that there's a crisis as to who is exactly the secretary of the party at the national level. Say, how is that enough?
Your business, first of all, at the state
you don't
level.
understand what I'm saying? They are not saying that there's a problem within the PDP at the state level. Though. They never said that.
So national
what
level.
They have simply at the national level, that there's a little problem with who exactly is the secretary of the party. You know, the former secretary of the secretary of the party had gone to Imo to contest to the governor, and then he came back and wanted to be the secretary again, and then of course the WG faction also came up with somebody, and that's just the crisis we are talking about. Now the question is that substantial enough as crisis within the PDP for these governors to now decide to defect? You don't understand what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
So we are going to see a lot of legal battles, because I've seen people who have said, because what has happened is that, look, the PDP has also spoken at the federal level. And what they have said is that, look, the seat of these lawmakers declared vacant, because that's what the law says. If you are not able to prove a substantial crisis in the party to warrant your defection. But again, I am sure that this would have to be sorted out at the court.
Yeah.
We've seen things like this before. It happened in Edo State. It happened even in Ekiti during Fayoshe's time, where some lawmakers' seats were declared vacant. Obaseki also faced a similar thing, and he was able to survive that battle against the so-called godfather. So it is left. I'm sure that, yesterday the governor of Fubara called an ESCO meeting.
Yeah.
I think he has been meeting and all of that. Of course, the ESCOs have said that they were only discussing the appropriation bill for the state. 800 billion, about 400 billion for capital expenditure and all of that. That was basically, but I know that behind all of that conversation would have been what their response would be, what the response of the should be to this mass defection of 27 lawmakers. So, like I said, we are going to see a lot of legal battles. the court would have to interpret this and take a decision. And so legally, that is what the law says. But again, if you look at what the law says, you see that it's a bit ambiguous. Because it is now subject to interpretation, because to say whether the crisis is actually substantial enough
right.
To justify the defection of this lawmaker. Just imagine that the law was clearly explicit about the fact that, look, as a lawmaker, you cannot defect, no matter what.
Right.
But the law does not say that. It allows for defection only if there's a serious crisis in the party, to the point that the faction of the party cannot even nominate a candidate for election. In itself, the law is ambiguous. And that's why you just imagine people in Rivers State, lawmakers in Rivers State, defecting on the basis that there's a problem with the secretaryship of the party at the national level. How is that their idea? You understand? But we know what we know. It's just a very comfortable excuse. This was going to come. You know, before now we have been saying that, look, the recent crisis between Fubara and ᴏᴜᴜnᴜ had been again on, a lot of rumor that ᴏᴜᴜnᴜ was already planning to officially defect to the APC. That the reason he had not even done it before was because he was waiting for the judgment of the Supreme Court on the presidential election. And that when all was clear, he had actually told the government, again, these were rumors we were getting, that look, it was time to defect to the APC, and that was a decision the governor was not ready to take. But before Fubara became governor, he was all a wicked thing. The majority of the state assembly members were his loyalists. A lot of the appointees were also from him. In fact, the chief security officer to the governor is said to have been appointed by Wike. So you have a governor who had gone into this unholy alliance, and is trying to fight back. If he's going to survive the tide, only time will tell. So that is the legal aspect of this conversation. Like I said, I'm sure that a lot of legal fireworks, a lot of legal battles will still come from this. The other one is the political side of this conversation. Say, whether we like it or not, Fubara has a serious job to do to survive this onslaught. Because again, these 27 are going to probably push, most likely, we may be getting to a point where they're going to be pushing for his impeachment. But again, he has also been in government. He looks like somebody who is very calm, quiet, but the recent events have also shown that, look, he might be somebody who is quiet but very calculating. So I'm sure he's going to be dotting I's, crossing T's, consulting widely to see how he's going to be able to deal with this politically. And like I said, one of the things he could do is to work to ensure that the seats of these lawmakers are declared vacant.
Right.
And look, no matter what Abuja, again, through ᴏᴜᴜnᴜ tries to do in Rivers State, I'm sure that they will be very careful not to burn down that state with whatever they are trying to do. Because whether you like it or not, there are also people who are going to rally around the governor. ᴏᴜᴜnᴜ, for his 8 years, has also gotten a lot of politics. And whether you like it at this time, they're going to rally around the governor. The Judge Nation is already talking because of where the man comes from, the governor. Biden Clark has been talking. A lot of other people who are also stakeholders in that state are also talking. So we have to be careful what is going to come out of that state before we have a serious crisis on our hands. So again, it's not clear what's going to happen. But I know that Fubara has a chance to survive this.
Fuhad,
and he can fight back.
Fuhad, I'm sorry. You know that for an impeachment proceeding to be, moved, right? At least 2/3 of the majority of lawmakers in the House have to approve this. So the fact that 27
and the process is also very quite cumbersome. See,
well, the fact that 27 has defected, don't you think that's somewhat disadvantageous?
No, apart from that, you have to set up an investigative panel.
Right.
The state attorney general has to, a whole lot. The CGN of the state has to be involved. It's always a back and forth. And from recent happenings, we've seen that, look, this impeachment process. Look, when the deputy governor of Ondo State was to be impeached, did it come easy? Has he been impeached now?
It will.
You don't understand what I'm saying. So these things don't happen easily. I think our politicians now understand how to play the game. And I'm sure Fubara again, it's not going to be easy because, again, he might be working against the federal might, if you understand what I'm saying. But what is going to happen politically in Rivers State, time will tell. But I don't expect Fubara to not give it a fight. He's probably going to fight back. And if he gets his strategy right, say, he's going to survive this. I tell you. But I don't want to take a bet on that. On the issue of morality, say, so that we can move on with this issue.
Yes.
You can now see that our politicians are one of the same and the same.
Fuhad, I have soundtrack for this thing, but continue.
You want to play that?
Yes, I have soundtrack. Wait first.
Let's play it now.
Yes, let's listen to the former governor of River State, Tᴜɪᴛᴛᴇʀ Mᴜsɪᴄ, the now minister
talking about
of the FCT,
defection.
talking about defection. I really want us to hear this so we hear from the horse's mouth and we're not like quoting what he said before Fuhad continues. Please take a listen.
So everybody will have to be careful. You give somebody an umbrella, the next day he defects. EFCC will come. He said, no, let me join them. So EFCC will not be against you. You carry the vote of another party and you join another party. If you are defecting,
do you want to give us?
That is the former governor of River State, who is now the minister of FCT, whose loyalists in the state assembly have now defected to the APC, condemning what has now happened to his own loyalists, saying that, look, why would anybody win an election on the party and defect to another party? And in fact, if you defect, can you just leave the mandate of the people? Because you can't take the vote to the new party. Because people voted you on a particular party. Again, when politicians talk about equity, fairness, justice, morality, they only say it when their interest is not affected, is not involved.
Well,
so that's why when people come up with some of these narratives, I just laugh. I saw the 27 lawmakers in River State say, and I had to shake my head. I shook my head. I felt a serious pity for Nigeria. And I keep saying it. People will come again and say, oh, you people are just analysts on radio. Why can't you also go and join politics? Why can't you also go and take a membership form of a political party? Say, is this the kind of politics you want decent people to join? Say, do you now understand why the worst of us rules the best of us? Can you actually join this kind of charade?
Well, Fuhad, good people don't elect bad leaders, so we're all the same, if you ask.
No, I'm sorry. Look, the reason why a lot of Nigerians are caught in this web of political confusion and governance problems is that, look, a lot of things have been weaponized against them. There's no good education. People can't even think through properly.
Even make the right decisions.
Then again, poverty has been weaponized.
Right.
And then apart from that, institutions of state have also been captured. The electoral process is fraught with all manner of corruption. We can't even trust the judiciary. The security apparatus of the state has also been pocketed. Can you blame the people, say, really? You can't blame the people, I'm sorry. Yes, I agree that, look, the kind of leadership you get is an option of the kind of people we are. But in reality, even when the people decide to fight back and do the right thing, a lot of things are stacked against them. A lot of things are stacked against them. And that is why people are staying away from the kind of politics we play. And not even survive in this terrible murky water of dirty politics we play in Nigeria. Look at Ondo State, for example. Look at what is happening in Ondo State. And now look at Rivers. And that is why the principle for some of us, why if they ask, why are you not in politics, blah, blah, blah. I played politics as a student union leader to the highest level. We have to stay away from this very terrible, dirty kind of politics because of the reality of the fact that surviving this. Listen. And that's why I told a number of friends, I said, look, the man that trained me, my grandfather, because bless his soul, that trained me, I'm going to end it with that. Talked about dining with him. He gave us the reality of dining with the devil. The Yorubas will say, ẹni tó máa bá èṣù jẹun síbi ẹ̀ àgùn. You will interpret that to say, you will try.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
And you will try.
I don't know. If you're going to eat with the devil, you have to have a long spoon.
But my grandfather of blessed memory, Alhaji Rilwan Okoya, says that, look, don't even dine with the devil at all.
Right.
So that's your long spoon. The devil has the capacity to collect it from you and knock it on your head. So the rule of dining with the devil is not to dine with the devil at all. And that is why people are staying away from the kind of politics we play in Nigeria. Because you can't survive it. Unless you go into the same thing they are doing. Now when you look at the governor now, look at Fubara now. He would probably have to go dirty to survive this. He's going to go into the mud and fight death to survive what is coming for him. So it is what it is. That's the situation of Rivers State. It's unfortunate. But again, I would lastly want to beg the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to ask himself, what legacy does he want to leave as a political leader in Nigeria? Because whether we like it or not, say the boss still stops at his desk. Politically speaking, the boss stops at his desk. He must think about the legacy he wants to leave after being president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, there you have it on that particular story. You can get more details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. If you're just joining us, a warm welcome to you. This is Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. We're looking through our different newspapers, and we're currently on the Guardian newspaper looking at the headlines. Fuhad Saheed is with us virtually analyzing these stories. My name, of course, is Sage Babalola. We just had a conversation about the political situation of Rivers State, and we might have to move now to what's going on in Ondo State. I'm trying to pick out that particular story. Anyways, we can use the papers we have here. Jail awaits those forging Akeredolu's signature, says the commissioner. We have here Ondo State's Commissioner for Energy and Mineral Resources, Razak Obe, has stated that those behind the forgery of Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu's signature will be jailed, considering their roles and involvement in the development. Obe, who stood by his earlier claim that some persons within the state cabinet had been forging Akeredolu's signature for their own interest, told The Guardian that all relevant agencies had been notified of the situation. Please forgive me, I somehow skipped the rider to the story. Before we hear from Fuad, let me quickly take that. The riders to the story: I stand by my claims. I am not afraid of prosecution. We're yet to be officially notified of the allegation, says the Assembly. Tinubu summons Ayedatiwa Speaker, others to a meeting. Fuad, as you know, the crisis in Ondo State, especially with the governorship, has taken a new dimension, as we do have someone claiming that the signature of the governor is being forged. To what extent, we do not know. And he's actually quite confident in his allegation that he's saying he's ready to face the law if it comes to that. But the State Assembly continue to state that they have no knowledge of these allegations at all. The president has actually decided to weigh in on the matter, and once again have summoned the deputy governor Lucky Ayedatiwa, some of the speakers, to another meeting, probably to make some headway when it comes to said crisis. But then again, the allegation of signature forgery, they're still standing on it. He believes that it is true, and I'm talking about the minister of the state commissioner, I beg your pardon, for Energy and Mineral Resources, Razak Obe. Fuad, what do you make of this?
Well, again, I think another very unfortunate situation we have in Ondo State. The Commissioner for Energy has done what he needs to do. You know, again, in all of this disappointing situation in our political space, you always find one or two selfless individuals who always want to stand for the right thing. God bless the soul of Dora Akunyili. When we had the problem with Yaradua, the late Yaradua, she was one of those few Nigerians who stood for the right thing and said that it must be done. So I think we have to look at this Commissioner Obe from Ondo State and say, yes, those are one or two Nigerians who would always stand for the right thing and say the right thing at the right time against what will be coming for them. So he has said what he needs to say. Look, he has to even subject that allegation to forensic analysis. We have the printout where the forensic experts have said that indeed the signature of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, two of them that is known officially, has been so forged severally by people with the enforcement in Ondo over for now. Even if every now, it's in Ondo. I don't know what the law.
Of the Guardian, it's just afternoon. This is at 1 p.m. and a 22 electricity plant majority.
1,000 megawatts. But in reality, they are doing about some of the transmission 100 times.
Do we?
You say you don't know. You make it.
You know, states.
So I don't think it's even as problematic as said in 10 years are pushing.
Please.
Understand them.
Our emission isn't any higher than 1 to 4%. You know, that's the range. So the fact that they're insisting we minimize so bad when we're not even amongst the top 5, emitters, they're even offering to give us debt relief for us to, almost completely stop emitting any carbon whatsoever. I'm trying to
you know
understand.
what,
It beats me.
No, Africa has positioned itself to be dragged. You know, we have so much ridiculed ourselves because of lack of capacity, lack of governance. You know, we don't have those kind of leaders that can push the African agenda and stand toe to toe with these Western imperialists and tell them the home truth. What we have are a set of leaders who are happy to take from the crumbs that fall from the table of the masters. You know, so we don't have those kind of leaders that are ready to say no. I will look, whether we like it or not, I will say it again and again. All of this junketing and running about and thinking that, you know, the solution of Africa is somewhere in the West or from all these Western powers. It's just, we are just deceiving. The solution to Africa's prosperity is in Africa. Look, this climate change conversation, see, the entire Africa, we are not talking about Nigeria now, see, just a global emission of less than 4%. And how are we dragged into the conversation where China is doing about 13%? The US is doing over 11%. Those are just countries. The same thing they are telling us to abandon. They used to develop their own economy. And then the only thing they can tell us, because again, we are too beggarly. We don't even have a pride. Modern Africa has no pride again. Oh, drop this, we'll give you debt forgiveness. Said, we have not gotten to the point where the problem of climate change and fossil fuel emission should be the problem of Africa. Whether it's a hoax or not, the conversation around climate change, I'm saying that it is entirely ridiculous to be making the problem of climate change the problem of Africa. If indeed the entire Africa was a global emission of less than 4%. But it is what it is. We have so much positioned ourselves to be dragged by the nose, pulled by the trouser, and sit naked in the global warfare or serious conversation. So what is the stake of Africa in this now? Oh, get debt forgiveness. And I say that, look, instead of Africa to go beggarly again on the table of climate change conversation, what we can do is to position ourselves. Because again, in terms of energy transition, a lot of the resources that the West needs
we have it
for their energy transition is right here in Africa.
Lithium. We have the resources for it.
A domicile here in Africa. So what our leaders should do is to look at those resources. Or that when what was the UAE in the 70s, the Western Imperial Africa, education in Africa, if only we have thinking leaders.
Look at this story in earlier. I want us to look at this. Labour fumes as federal government stops over the government's failure to sustain the payment of and only paid the 35,000 naira wage award for the
play. What?
It's because of inflation.
It's because of inflation. The political play. They better put on their thinking cap. They have to be more strategic. They have to be very decisive and work together. They have to really, really work together. If they're going to
here on page 21, see confusing cash scarcity that we're experiencing in some parts of the country. Now, what the CBN has done is that for payments above, I think, 500,000 naira and 50,000 for companies and individuals, respectively, the 2% and 3% processing fee have been cancelled, and they're doing this. Yeah, so they're doing this so people can actually use transact using the bank rather to the cashless policy agenda that they were trying to so that's why I said it's an insinuation. Yeah, that's the deposit money banks I blame for, to be honest, because they're the ones rationing cash.
Can now go into it cash.
Well, you pay when you transact.
Why would Nigerians decide to
it's in the deposit money banks? I need to understand from their own perspective. So they need
why
to
they are
something. Because when you get there and they say you can't get more than 5,000, and you're asking why.
Yeah, people have been saying it. I've seen people who said they went there, they wanted
to reaction to what's going on.
They only got 10K. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
anyway,
we'll put out information as we get it. We really need to hear from the DMVs. And because of our time, we'll just look through the rest of these stories. I'll read it out. We have here Amotekun arrests 62 suspected criminals in Ondo. We have CAC to delist over 91,000 companies over infractions. And Tinubu condemns police station burning, tells army to protect democracy. That's it for Punch. For The Nation, we have here Tinubu says, I will not lose battle against bandits and terrorists. We also have here Osimhen Oshua Babalola rule Africa. We spoke about that. Adeleke continuous absence raises dust in Osun State. Oh, that's a conversation that we should have. We should have as well. Maybe when we come back for mainland focus. And I think that's about it. That's really all the stories across all the papers. Thank you so much for your participation. It's 8:30. It's time for us to step away very briefly. At 8:40, we'll be back. Of course, Fuhad will be on the line for mainland focus. This is where we'll pick about 2 stories and give you an opportunity to converse as well. My name is Sage Babalola. This is still the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM. Please stay with us.